What up, YouTube? Knowledge of self-determination. So I wanted to give you guys another story from the final call. This one is about a former Milwaukee officer who was the subject of multiple investigations, and this is the gentleman right here. So, so I'll let you guys know. I'm not always going to point out things that white cops do. My thing is to point out injustice, period. It just so happens that a lot of the injustices that are delivered to black people, African Americans in this country, when it comes to their dealings with law enforcement, is usually white officers on black officers. Now, there are a ton of black officers who do harmful things to their own people as police officers. Tons of them. He is, one of those individuals. Dominique, what is that? Hagen Brown. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the report. A former police officer whose fatal shooting of a black man sparked riots in Milwaukee last summer was the subject of multiple internal investigations during his short career, according to his recently released personnel file. The Milwaukee Police Department released Dominique Hagen Brown's file to the Associated Press through an open records request. The documents show most of the allegations against him were relatively minor and were resolved with orders to review department ethics policies, right? So basically what that means is when he was reprimanded on a lot of the things he did, they would just refer him to the ethics policy, right? I mean, they gave this dude tons and tons of chances, as you're about to hear. But the file also suggests early concerns about his judgment. Years before, he was charged with reckless homicide in last year's shooting and sexual assault in a separate case. This dude is going to end up being on PC. Just because he may not have actually victimized any black people or a lot of black people, but because he was a cop, man, he is going to catch it. He's going to catch it in prison. He's going to have to be in protective custody, for those who don't know what PC means. He's not going to be able to, be in population without something bad happening to him. At least that's my assumption. But I'll continue on. Milwaukee police spokesman Tim Guarke, Guaerke, Milwaukee, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that name. Sorry for mangling that. Didn't immediately respond to an email message seeking comment about the file. Mr. Hagen Brown's attorney, Jonathan Smith, also didn't immediately respond to the email. Mr. Hagen Brown, now 25, joined the Milwaukee Police Department as an aide in July 2010. In December 2011, a Milwaukee officer cited him for speeding and not wearing a seatbelt. The documents indicated he was traveling 80 miles per hour in a 50 mile per hour zone while he was off duty. The officer later voided the citations, saying he gave Mr. Hagen Brown a break because he was a young department aide. Mr. Hagen Brown wrote to his superiors promising he wouldn't be caught speeding again. 2 days after the shot, he was cited again for speeding. 2 days after the stop, he was cited again for speeding. This time for driving 74 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone. Mr. Hagen Brown pleaded guilty and wrote to his superiors he wasn't watching his speedometer and didn't think he was going that fast. Now, here's one thing about this situation that I kind of that's running through my head. This brother. Now, I'm not gonna put the entirety of the black race on this kid's shoulders and say, oh, because of brothers like him, other black people, it'll make it hard for other black people to get jobs as a police officer. I'm not going to say that because I'm not going to put the weight of the entire race on this kid's shoulders, However, it would be in probably somebody's justification of not allowing a lot of black people to become officers in Milwaukee. This could be used against them, saying, look at this guy. He was an example of somebody who we did not want, or rather who we thought would be a good candidate, but, was actually a criminal in disguise. And apparently, he's an amateur rapper who sang about rioting. So apparently he was a rapper also. We have a lot of time to work on his music in prison. But I'm not saying that I'm not putting the weight of the black race on this kid's shoulders. I'm just saying this could, like I said, it could be used as an excuse to not hire as many black officers in Milwaukee. That's all I'm saying. And if that doesn't happen, then hey, more power to the people who are practicing fair and equal opportunity hiring practices. Let's see. In November 2012, officers searched Mr. Hagan Brown's residence while investigating a report of shots fired. Officers encountered about a dozen people in the residence. Mr. Hagan Brown wasn't there, and a strong odor of marijuana. The search didn't yield firearms or drugs, but 3 people were arrested. Mr. Hagan Brown was counseled on policies requiring department employees to avoid associating with people who could affect their integrity. The following year, investigators looked into allegations that a YouTube video showed Mr. Hagan Brown in uniform entering in an apartment with a bong on top of a refrigerator. Investigators determined the video didn't show illegal or offensive activity. Mr. Hagan Brown told them an entertainment company producer was making a commercial and he didn't know his image would be used. Right? That's what he said. Holy crap. Alright. An investigation that culminated in March 2014 concluded that Mr. Hagan Brown had been living with a convicted felon. So they were continuing to investigate him even 2 years after this one incident. His sister, who was the convicted felon he was living with. Investigators learned the two were roommates while looking into the theft of Mr. Hagan Brown's personal firearm from his closet. Investigators reviewed ethics policies with Mr. Hagan Brown again and let it go because he was no longer living with her. So this dude has had a number of investigations, one after the other, after the other, after the other. I mean, man. So not only do, we have to look out for white supremacist, racist cops being hired into our police departments where they're quote unquote hired to serve and protect, right? We have to look out for the enemy within also, right? Right? We have to look for the enemy within also because it's not always a white cop that's always going to, give you the business. 9 times out of 10, that's how it happens, but that's not always the case. And guys who are affiliated with gangs who are becoming cops, that's not a good mix. I'm just saying that's not a good mix. Because where do your loyalties lie when you're a cop who's trying to be a gangster, a thug, be in the streets? Where do your loyalties lie? Are you there to protect and serve, or are you there to legally walk around with a firearm? In September 2015, officers noticed a photograph on an alleged gang member's website that showed Mr. Hagan Brown posing with 3 men displaying apparent gang signs. Mr. Hagan Brown said the photo was taken in 2012 when he was a police aide and he didn't know what the signs meant. So you may ask, so why were you doing it? Why were you doing things and you didn't know what they meant? Why? Anyway, I'm going to continue on because that's just ridiculous that he would even make that statement. Investigators recommended Mr. Hagan Brown again review ethics policies. So they keep giving this dude shot after shot after shot, chance after chance after chance, right? And he's just burning those bridges. Now, Mr. Hagan Brown, who was also black, as we already know now, fatally shot 23-year-old Seville Smith last August during a foot chase on Milwaukee's north side. That is the gentleman here. During the chase, Mr. Smith turned toward Mr. Hagan Brown with a gun, but threw it away after Mr. Hagan Brown shot him in the arm. Investigators said Mr. Smith was unarmed when Mr. Hagan Brown fired a fatal second shot. The shooting sparked 2 nights of violence and looting in the neighborhood where Mr. Smith was killed. And now his brother is he's been arrested. He is on trial. Or rather not on trial. He was a subject. He has been arrested. He is in prison now. It doesn't say in this article how much time he actually has, or if he's I don't even know if he's actually gone to trial yet, because from this picture here it says charges pending. So he must not have. He must be arrested, and he probably got no bail. Custody day. He was put into custody in October of last year. So this is pretty recent. So he probably got denied bail, and he probably doesn't have a trial date yet, which means that he's being held until he actually goes to trial. So there's no word on how much time he will have or receive, or if he will even be charged or convicted at all. No one knows. But this guy here is one of his cousins. Anyway, this is the end of the article, so I'll go ahead and finish that off. Mr. Hagan Brown was fired in October after he was charged with sexual assault in a separate case. Prosecutors charged him with reckless homicide and Mr. Smith's death in December. So he was charged in December with reckless death, but not murder or manslaughter. I don't even know how much a reckless death charge actually carries. And I think this is the photo of him, but that's not gang signs though. That's just him throwing up peace. But yeah, man, this guy, he was his own worst enemy. I mean, he was the subject of a number of investigations since 2010 when he became a police aide. I mean, let's see. 2010 appointed as police aide. 2013 became probationary officer. 2014 probationary period extended for 97 days. So he went from police aide to a PO, and then he became an actual cop, I think in 2015, I think it was. And it was short-lived because he killed that kid and instantly was fired and caught a case. The whole purpose of this story is for me to read this to you guys, is to let you guys know that we have to watch out for a lot of people, a lot of enemies in our community. This guy killed a black man who was at the time unarmed. He had a gun when he pulled up. When he pulled up on him, he shot him in the arm. Now I will say this: he shot the kid in the arm. He didn't immediately go for a kill shot. He didn't immediately shoot him center mass and try to take him out. He shot him in the arm, and he could have left it at that. I saw the suspect with a gun. I wounded him in the arm. After I shot him in the arm, he threw the gun, and that was it. And it made the arrest a lot easier because I didn't have to fight with him and I didn't have to get into a shootout. He could have done that. But for some reason, he decided to kill this young brother. He decided to kill him. Listen, black people, we need to stop hating each other so much so to the point that we become police officers just to see what it feels like to legally, or as you think, legally kill one of your own. You become a police officer so you can be a bully in your community. I think that's while at the same time trying to be a gangster and a thug. Listen. For individuals such as themselves, yes, our police departments need to be purged of people such as him. And the white supremacist cops who are Klan members and neo-Nazis and all the other extremist domestic terrorist or group members. Our police departments need to be purged of individuals who are not out to serve and protect, but who are there to just do us harm. Yes, the police departments need to be purged of all of these people because they're all scum, no matter what color your skin is. If you are out victimizing other people for your own, I can't even call it personal gain, because what do you gain by victimizing people? But to serve your own ego? then you're a scumbag. Seriously, you're a scumbag, and you probably deserve everything you get. 9 times out of 10. The police departments need to be audited. They need to be purged of all the scum, because the whole premise of serve and protect goes out the window when the people who are committing the crimes are not held accountable for the things that they're doing to people in the public eye. Man. Anyway, that's it for today. Again, this story was from Final Call. I don't know who actually wrote this article, but the name on the page is Michael Z. Muhammad, a contributing writer. Since it was on the page of one of his articles, I'm just going to assume that he probably was the person who contributed this particular story. But I'll give you guys more updates on some stories from the Final Call. The Final Call, again, is the Nation of Islam publication. This is black media. So I try to support black businesses as much as possible. I am not a member of the Nation of Islam, but I do support their efforts because they do a lot of good in the black community. They have their own publication, which any city where you see brothers on the corner, they'll probably have the Final Call, because this is the publication nationally for the Nation of Islam. So you guys want to keep in touch with the community. You guys want to keep up with an official media publications such as the Final Call. Support those brothers. They only charge you $1 for the paper, or was it $2? I don't even remember, but $2 is a small price to pay to stay up on the people's media, on black media. $2 is a small price to pay, in my opinion. And I don't mind doing it. I'll buy a bean pie every now and then. I don't necessarily eat a lot of pies and stuff like that, but I'll buy it just to support these dudes, because these brothers are on the corner grinding, full suits, buttoned up to the gills. You know what I'm saying? In the summertime, it's 90 degrees. I'm gonna at least make that brother's experience worth the standing out in the corner, trying to support his family and his community. But anyway, support black media. Support any positive media. Support any media that is truly objective. Support any media, because it's not just black media that is totally objective. However, support black media, because I think it's good for us to get news and information that comes from the perspective of people who may think, look, and act like you do, and may see the world the way you do. You understand? They're going to report the stories that the mainstream media will not report. And that's good for everybody, right? Knowledge is neither good nor bad. It's what you do with the knowledge and information that makes it good or bad, or makes you good or bad. Mainstream media won't report on certain things, but the Final Call will, and other black media outlets will as well. But that's all I have. I'm going to step down off my soapbox. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Like, learn, and subscribe. Leave comments in the comment section about what you think about this